What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me this week is Dezrah.
Sitting across from me is Brian Paul.
And sitting between us
is Nate Smith.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Nate.
We've actually taken over the Midnight Games cast set this week.
You guys have a really cool studio.
You guys.
Say. Well, I mean, you don't let me in. They only keep me on the other one.
Yeah.
They don't want me breaking all the cool stuff.
Yeah. He's an outdoor cat. He's an outdoor games cat. Put it away.
I did.
You need a Switch to play a Switch game.
Yeah.
Nate, who are you? Where did you come from? Why did we let you in to Without Parole Game Studios?
Where did you go? Where did you come from?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
And now we owe someone else some money.
No, you don't.
So what's up? What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. I am on a podcast. I run a podcast called The Research Guild, where we talk about science and video games and health and how those things come together and how sometimes those things kind of get sketchy and wonky and weird. And I'm here. I don't know. I'm here because you invited me, and I'm happy to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's funny because it sounds like the stuff that you do is sort of the antithesis of everything we do here at Without Parole Games. We're like, it's a life sentence. We're screwed. We're doing video games for our life sentence kind of thing. Yeah.
And also, we do zero research. Well, I mean, tiny little bits.
I've seen the back half of your set, and there's a ton of research happening. There's all kinds of systems. There's like lab coats and the whole bit.
We have
it's
interns.
Really impressive. Really impressive.
Interns. We have those people.
Just because they're Asians doesn't mean they're interns.
Or are they in this room too?
I had to cut out an Asian joke from the Gamescast this week. We're not cutting out more. All right. Moving right along.
So, yeah, one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you, because, I mean, laying our cards... Wow, I'm going to try that sentence again. Laying all our cards on the table. I mean, I've known Nate for a very, very long time, back when I used to have hair. Shocker. And it's kind of funny where, like, our careers have gone. He's gone, professionally, really professionally into gaming in a lot of ways. At least into talking about gaming.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of half-assed my way into talking about gaming. But it is kind of interesting where we've gotten to this point where we can actually have you in as sort of our expert to talk about something I think Brian and I have really been interested in.
Or concerned about.
And it's the question of problem gaming, I guess. It's kind of one of the terms you use on your podcast. I think it's really, it's like, where is the difference between this is a real cool hobby, I want to spend my time and my money collecting or playing really long time, man, I just cannot get away from that phrasing. But playing a lot of games, where is that a really good hobby I'm into, and where is the line between that and, I have a problem, I need to seek professional help because it's sucking away all the rest of my normal life.
So we're going to talk about Minecraft all day? Is that what we're doing?
I am like 6 months clean, man.
Oh, yeah?
So you just back off.
Okay, let me see your arm.
So there's a bunch of questions there.
Yes.
And I'm going to take like little bits of them, and then you can tell me...
Is there such a thing as problem gaming?
Is there such a thing as problem gaming? So just like by one note of background, I spend my time reading mostly about behavioral addictions of all kinds, gambling, sex addiction, pornography, anything that you can do.
This podcast just got interesting.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Oh.
Anything that you can do in a way that's unhealthy,
Okay.
I'm super, super interested in. And video games is a hobby of mine, so obviously I'm interested in that bit too.
Right.
And this is like you guys have questions about this, but the best scientists in the world who do this for a living also have questions about this. It's not super well understood. Actually, the World Health Organization right now is having an argument about does this thing exist? Is it real? What should we do about it?
So what you're saying is that we're the same as the best scientists in the world.
Some would say better.
On this subject, I would say your solid answer is just as good as a lot of the solid answers of the best scientists in the world.
Okay. Well, thanks to everybody. This has been a great show. We'll see you next week.
I think the great thing is that scientists have to do all the research to be like, well, what do problem gamers go through? What have they done? Let's dive into their history. But people like you or me, we don't have to do that research. We are our research. We've done our history because we are our history.
Right.
I look back and I go, well, this has been a problem all my life. Which isn't a problem at all because I've now made a life out of it. Everyone else, you're screwed.
And that's like there's been this big discussion in gambling which was like before there were professional gamblers, everybody who did it a ton was just like, oh, you have a problem because, you do this a ton and it's not good for you.
Because gambling is wrong, period.
And so, but then there were professionals who are like professional poker players, and it's like, oh, you make a lot of money and you have a family and you live in a big house and your life it looks pretty good. So it doesn't really make sense that we should say that you have a problem. You actually have a career you're really good at.
But even if they're still playing 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
And obsessing over it. So one of the things in the DSM, which is, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it's the Bible of what we use to figure out, who has a problem and who doesn't. The first one is are you obsessed? Basically, are you obsessed with this thing? But if you're a professional poker player or, a professional gamer of some kind, you're obsessed with it, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And so all of our kind of definitions are getting weird and sort of wild and wonky, and especially as YouTube and podcasts have come out and allowed people to have a career much more easy in this field, being obsessed with this thing, so that line has gotten kind of blurry, and trying to figure out where it is now is really difficult, and you guys are both really good examples of that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, where's that difference between, obsession, non-functional obsession versus just being passionate?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Now, I mean, if I take my own life as an example, this past week, I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, none of our viewers, for the most part, our viewers are PlayStation VR owners. That's our demographic. For the most part, they don't care about Horizon. They are concerned about the newest VR game. For the most part. And I spent 40 hours this week playing Horizon. So does that cross the line where it's this has nothing to do with the YouTube channel. This has nothing to do with, even imparting information on people. Mm-hmm. This is just me letting my obsession, my gaming, take over my life for the week. It actually impeded on my ability to create videos for the channel that people really wanted to see.
Right. And this is part of the discussion that isn't totally well understood, and there's a bunch of different people who have theorized about this. One guy I really like is a guy named Jerry Wakefield at Columbia.
Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, if you're watching, and I know you're not, I love your work, and I would like to come work with you anytime. So Jerry basically says to have a disorder, you have to have two things. You have to have harm, and you have to have dysfunction.
Okay.
So it's the harmful dysfunction model.
Aren't those the same harm? Well, I guess you're going to tell us.
Yeah. So dysfunction means there's a system that you have a system that's not working well. So your anxiety. So if there's a lion running after you, you should get really freaked out and run away. That's your anxiety. Your fear response system working correctly.
Right.
If there's a kitty cat running towards you and you get freaked out and you run away like it's a lion, then your fear response system is working incorrectly.
So that's dysfunction.
Never.
Yeah. You should bend down and pet the kitty cat.
Yes.
That would be my professional advice.
Not eat the kitty cat. Okay.
Not eat the kitty cat. So that's your dysfunction.
Who are you, Alf? Yeah, that was an Alf reference.
That's a dated reference.
It wasn't really an Alf reference. It was just I have to take my cat to the vet tomorrow, and I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have to take my tooth to the dentist tomorrow.
Again?
The crown for the root canal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was procrastinating.
Relevant information.
Yeah, these people want to know.
That's true.
No, they don't.
So dysfunction. So
that was
dysfunction
dysfunction.
is a normal thing, just not being applied to the wrong situation, or the wrong situation being
Right. So it's a system that you have that's not working correctly.
Okay.
So then that's basically because harm is harm is harm. Harm is something bad happening to you or having a really bad outcome. But there's a lot of things that are harmful, but they're not like a disorder. Like if your girlfriend breaks up with you, that's harmful. It hurts you. It makes you feel bad, but it's not a dysfunction in your system.
Right.
It's just harm. It's just a bad thing happening to you. So we have to be able to figure out, what's just a bad thing versus what's an actual disorder. So Jerry's model, which is brilliant, is to say, well, you have to have these two things. You have to have harm and you have to have dysfunction.
So how about the example of when I was years ago, I used to work for a large office supply company.
I remember those days.
Yes. And we had a guy who was kind of on our early morning stock crew who basically, he was hired to work, coming at 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd stock the store for 4 hours before the place opened. And he basically said, I can't do this job anymore. I'm staying up too late playing a game, basically. I think it was in the early days of World of Warcraft.
Right.
And he said, I can't do this anymore. This is getting in the way of my game. And the guy, the boss was like, well, we hired you for this shift. no, basically go screw. And he was like, all right, fine, I quit. And he quit his job because it was impeding with his gaming. Now, assuming, I mean, this guy, lived with his parents, etc. He didn't really need the job to survive. Was that, is that where the line is between, okay, well, there's his responsible thing he should be doing, but he's going to drop that only in order to game a few extra hours at night?
Right. I don't think I wouldn't put the line there.
Okay.
So this is the really hard thing, and keep in mind, the best scientists in the world are actively debating where this line should be. So it's so if that guy, lost that job and didn't have a place to live, and, his significant other broke up with him and is now living on the street because of his gaming, it's pretty clear that we're in harmful dysfunction.
Right.
But if that guy got another job a week later at another store like the one they used to work at that we're not talking about, and just went on with his life, that's not harm, that's not dysfunction.
See, this is interesting because this is going to sound like a joke, but it's not. I've been to a few AA meetings.
Sure.
I used to drink super heavily, and I would black out every single night for years and years and years. And every time I went to AA, all the people there that got up and talked would always talk about, oh, my life was in shambles. My wife left me. My kids hate me. I would wake up in the gutter, and I lost my house, and I lost my job. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I don't have a problem. But these people have a problem.
Right.
Right? But yet, I had a severe problem. But just the dichotomy of my story and their stories, rationalized my
because you were functional
habits.
at it.
I was totally functioning.
Yeah.
And whether it be because of the support from my parents or whether it just be because I have low responsibility lifestyle, whatever the reason is, I think you do need to be aware that there are different levels of harm and dysfunction. You can say, well, this guy, well, it didn't really, interfere with his life, but maybe it did.
But that's a really interesting point, and particularly when you talk about substances, like tobacco use. Any use of tobacco is slowly killing you. So you can decide to use it or not, but that's just a reality.
Wow, hot takes from Nate here.
I know.
Smoking is bad.
If you didn't know that, Dolan Hill, 1954, I think. Look it up. One of the best studies ever written. Back when they did graphs by hand, which is amazing to go back and read that stuff.
I'm sorry, I have to sidetrack. In 1954, there were studies about how bad tobacco was for you.
Oh yeah,
that's phenomenal.
Dolan Hill were the guys in England who were did the first study where they it's an amazing story. They went to this hospital and interviewed all these doctors and got all this data. And then they found this thing that tobacco, we're not sure what's killing all of these people. And they're like, oh, it's tobacco. So actually the guy in America who found the same thing in Maine at the same time went to a meeting to present it, and all of the panel that he's presenting to are just puffing away at him as he's being well, as you can see here on my charts, everybody here is dead, and all of these people are alive. So this is really, and his story is he got 5 minutes to talk about this, and the guy after him who was talking about sheep health got 30 minutes because he just walked in and they were like, we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
The truth has been out there. We just don't want to listen.
So I got mad sidetracked on tobacco. Oh, yeah. So the point is,
yeah.
It all relates. The point is, video gaming isn't causing bodily harm to you if you do it a lot.
Yeah.
Drinking a lot is hurting your inside systems. Okay. And if say you do heroin, not a good thing to do, because you can kill yourself instantly with it.
Off the list.
It makes it really, really dangerous. So something like video gaming, where there's not a physical harm, you're not going to accidentally over OD on it and just be dead the next day. So we've got to take these things into account, but then the models people are using don't always take into account. It kind of gets messy, but if you had to trade the alcohol for the gaming, that's a nice, safe move.
I think that's what I did.
It's probably money saver, actually.
I've looked around. I don't think that's good.
It doesn't take that much alcohol to put you under.
Right.
You buy SSX Tricky once,
yeah,
and it's there. And when you use it, it's still there.
And then I buy it again, and it's over there for the GameCube. It's weird how many copies of SSX Tricky you need in a collection.
This is not going to work because the street value on heroin is so low right now. It's $5 a hit.
Not much of a collector's market.
That's still more than SSX Tricky.
So, I guess kind of circling back. So,
please and thank you.
Yeah. No, I kind of like the idea of a collector's market for drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is a nice 1938. No, okay.
That stuff will definitely kill you.
That was a good year for drugs.
So I sidetracked my own sidetrack. So yes, so harm, dysfunction, so I guess my question is, like, how do we subjectively judge that? I mean, it's so like Brian was saying. I mean, he was able to look around like, oh, geez, these people are all screwed up, so I'm fine.
Right.
And I can say, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna die of like dehydration in a in a Korean gaming coffee shop or what do they call it?
Is that why those people die? Dehydration.
Dehydration.
They play for like 40 hours straight, and
Right,
suddenly
right.
they keel over. And
Yeah, so
somebody's like, "He's dead."
I'm never going to do that, so I don't have a problem.
Right.
You know, how do we find out, like, where do we get the objective view of someone saying, you know what, maybe you should back off?
Right, and that's to skip back to the harmful dysfunction model. The model says basically that your society gets to decide what is harm. And that's kind of like, that's a good and that's a bad. The good thing is that we can sort of develop over time.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad thing is sometimes your society is wrong.
Right.
You know, like in the 1850s, there was this disorder when slaves ran away from their masters.
Oh, right.
And like, oh, this is a mental disorder. And it's like, well, sometimes when your society is really jacked up, sometimes they're just going to be wrong, and that's not good. But so one thing you can do is, you know, look around at the people around you. What's normative behavior?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are people in your family talking to you? Are your friends talking to you? Or your parents or people who are important to you being like, hey man, I think you have a problem, because then maybe you're crossing out.
Okay.
But this is weird too, because maybe, you know, if it's like gambling or something, and your grandmother, you know, is super Catholic and doesn't believe in any gambling except for bingo, then right, whatever that is. Then,
That's the only thing Christianity is hypocritical about, so we can just leave that. Sorry.
Yes,
Bingo.
It's bingo. Yeah.
Nailed it.
I actually heard a cardinal, I think one of the New England Cardinals, say nobody is addicted to bingo. No, people can't be addicted to bingo. And I was like, this is great news. None of you people have a problem anymore.
Okay. Thanks, Cardinal. That's good work.
Yeah.
Good work there, boys.
Yeah. Rape can't get you pregnant.
It's the same type of thinking.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've got harm. All right. So look around the signs. If you've got everyone in your life telling you, "Hey, maybe you should check yourself," then, okay, maybe they're wrong. It's possible, you know. I mean, but maybe you should check yourself. You know. The other thing is too, like, in a lot of ways, the geeks are kind of winning. Like, gaming is socially acceptable in a way that, you know, and we talked about before, wasn't when we were kids. I mean, when we were young, Nintendo was a big thing, but if you chose to play Nintendo instead of play football, you were still a little. Now it's there's no. I don't think there's any stigma anymore, or at least not in the popular culture.
I think there still is. There still is a little bit of stigma.
Okay.
Maybe with like older people, like, oh, you're gonna.
Oh yeah,
oh, you spent 30 hours playing video games.
Yeah, the stigma's still there to an extent, except now your support group, the people who agree with you, that group is just much bigger.
Yeah.
So, but I think so. You had brought this up, and I don't know if it was in reference to something you had said prior.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between, and now I always bring this back to, instead of playing games, collecting games, because I think that my bigger problem of the two is strangely not playing games. It's the collection, and I do have a collector's mentality. It's an OCD like fixation. As soon as I was having a conversation with somebody online, and we talked about the Atari Lynx, and within 3 days I had an entire Atari Lynx system and collection. Like, that was it got into my head, and it stayed there until I owned it. It was a problem. Now, you'd said, like I said, I'm not sure if you said this first. It becomes a problem when your collection is being is in a box instead of being displayed.
I can't take credit. I stole that from John Roderick, and he's got the difference between collecting and hoarding is collecting, it's on display. Hoarding, it's been hidden away. You're embarrassed about it. And I thought that was kind of a nice line between, like, okay, this is something I enjoy, I'm proud of, I want to share with the world, versus this is my secret shame that no one must know of, you know. And I think that's, I don't know. I don't know if that's like a technical term, but I think that's a nice way to, you know, when we're talking about those subjective, objective, like, is this wrong? Well, if you're trying to hide it, maybe it's wrong.
Do you think that mentality
is there a basis to that? Or?
I don't know. I mean, I think we've wandered out of science with that discussion.
Okay.
And that's like a really interesting take. I can't address it because I don't know. Like there's no sciencey stuff for me to grab onto.
Okay.
But what I would say is it's really important we give people space to do the stuff that they enjoy, even if the stuff they enjoy is weird or we don't like it.
Woo!
Yeah. So everybody who's got a weird hobby out there. It's cool, you're fine, don't worry about it. Unless it's ruining your life, in which case you might have a problem.
Or ruining someone else's life.
Right.
Got to keep that in mind as well.
Yes, also true.
Excellent. Yeah,
But-
actually, well, and that is true. I mean, that's something like, you made a point, like, you were living a very responsibility-free life. Like, me on the flip side, I've got the wife, the kids, the mortgage, the everything. I have to be very careful about my gaming. And, I'm only half joking when I say I'm 6 months clean of Minecraft. Like, I recognize I have a problem with Minecraft. And if I start getting into, redstone circuit diagrams and things like that, and all of a sudden there goes like 4 or 5 hours that I should have been doing, adult responsible things. And I think even Jeremy on the Gamescast even talked about this. Like, his time for gaming, after the kids go to bed and everything, he's got, X amount of time. That's when he can do it. And so just like I think with a lot of things, just a little bit of self-knowledge, a little bit of self-awareness, and say, you know what, I know I have a problem with thing X. Or like, if you decide, one day, maybe I should only spend X amount of dollars a month on collecting.
Right.
Just, and see, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
What I'd like Nate here to talk about is your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think...
Pimpin' ain't easy.
Yeah, we want to know like what the regular topics are. We want to know where to find this thing. Just give us the full elevator pitch, but make it a big long elevator ride.
Okay, so the Research Guild podcast, a big long elevator ride.
I like the logo.
Wow, that was the Research Guild podcast.
Okay, and logo.
No,
there you go. Beautiful, isn't
we
it?
don't.
No green screen.
What?
Nope, nothing works anymore. Your magic is gone.
Oh.
That is a funny thing to say to you. So the Research Guild podcast is a podcast I make. It's just me basically screaming in my office, which is fine.
Okay.
So a bit of advice, not
Yeah.
so much screaming. Just take the caps lock off.
Is that the problem?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I get to talk about stuff that I'm interested in, that I hope other people are also interested in, and it's always topics related to health, science, and video gaming. So we did sort of a real basic bit on addiction, like 25 minutes just to kind of lay out the basics of an understanding, so you have sort of like a conceptual place to come from. Basically, if you're talking about video games and health, the first thing people want to talk about is addiction or violence in video games. Those are the things. So I called them the elephants in the room. You have to get rid of those first, and or at least address it, and so you can move on to more complicated discussions about that, or to other things that are more interesting.
So we should have had that conversation before beginning this.
Probably
filming.
should have listened to the episode. Actually, I have.
Yeah,
I have, and it's really interesting stuff. I mean, one of my other interests, I used to be much more active than I am now, but very interested in the skeptic movement. And one thing that I really take away from yours, from your podcast, is applying those tools of critical thinking to these studies. Your mom or dad sends you this article about, video gaming is terrible and it ruins everyone's lives, and here's a study that proves it. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but in the first couple episodes, Nate does a really good job of explaining, these are the things you should really look at and ask questions about when someone says, this study proves X. Well, just because it's a study, doesn't mean it proves anything.
And it doesn't matter where it comes from. So episode 4, I just kind of go on a diatribe about this bit of a study I hate from a research group at Cambridge University in the UK.
They're hacks.
Published in this really great journal that also puts out the DSM, by the way. And it doesn't... So, and I don't feel bad about it. So if I have an undergrad student and they give me something that's bad, I'm really nice to them because they're an undergrad, they don't know anything.
Right.
Hey.
Well, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But if you're a professor at Oxford...
Dunning-Kruger effect. Look it up.
A professor at Oxford basically means I don't have to be nice to you. I can just say whatever I want and crush you if you've got it wrong. And this dude, I really think, has this bit wrong. Mm-hmm. I just go to town on him for about 20 minutes. And I wrote to him and sent him all my comments, and he sent back comments. So then I read his comments to my comments.
Oh, excellent.
And it turns out he did not agree with my assessment. which
even better.
does not change the fact that he's completely wrong on this point.
Yeah.
And
If you agreed with everything you said, then the conversation wouldn't have been interesting at all.
no, well, so he
Or your
didn't.
diatribe.
He didn't really take. He didn't take down any of my points. He just kind of said, "But you're doing this after the fact, and so that means you are seeing what's already happened to make your assessment." And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I could have invented a time machine and then gone back in time and then flown to England and then gone to your lab and told you that this was garbage.
Yeah, it seems pretty unfair.
He didn't really want to deal with my comments, is what I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's a good. So episode 4 is just me crushing a Cambridge professor.
Now, are you doing this? Now, I apologize for having not done any research. I wasn't even supposed to be on this episode until last minute.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Right?
It's a good Kevin Smith.
It's real good Kevin Smith.
But he doesn't even say it.
Well, good Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith
line.
reference.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
No, it was
Dante.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dante.
Yep, we all know that. Yep.
Yeah.
While Nate was going to school and learning how to read and write studies, I was watching Mallrats.
I was actually watching Jay and Silent Bob in college a lot. We probably watched it like 200 times in the dorm.
So the podcast is just is just you
It's just me
talking into a microphone.
Just me ranting.
Fantastic.
But we
I don't
try
think I could do
and-
that.
No, last episode.
Oh, I had a guest. So here's the thing that's weird about because I've been operating in this world for like 7 years. There was this, skip back. So somebody recently died who was a streamer doing a 24-hour stream,
Yeah, I heard about that.
and that's not good.
No.
But I don't know anything about that person or their situation, and I can't address it because it'd be unethical for a whole bunch of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did an episode on sleep, but I do happen to know the former director of the division of sleep science at Harvard Medical School, and so I asked him if he wanted to come talk about sleep, and he's like, to a bunch of gamers who, we kind of sometimes have problems with sleep, as you may be aware. So he was like, oh yeah, I would love the opportunity to talk to that audience. So we did 15 minutes about sleep and streaming and 24-hour streams, and are they dangerous, and how do we make it less dangerous, and what do you do if nobody's going to listen to you, which is likely. So we do occasionally, and if people write comments like, I'm really interested in whatever thing, we can go get that person, because being in the field for a long time, I know a lot of people who would know how to talk about stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's available on iTunes.
It's
right?
on iTunes. Yep. It's The Research Guild.
And
just put it into iTunes.
I think if you go to the Patreon page, because I don't subscribe through iTunes, I just grab the RSS feed and plopped in it. So if you don't know how to do this, I think on your Patreon feed there's a link to the RSS. I don't remember how I found it.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I do everything on iTunes because I'm
Click
simple.
the link below in the comments.
Well, either it'll be in the link below, or I'll throw in a comment. You can just throw the RSS feed into your podcatcher if you don't happen to use iTunes, and it subscribes just fine. So, hey,
that's great news.
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent. I think that's probably going to do it then, right?
Yeah. So if you have this may not be the last time we see Nate. If you have questions about science and specifically about, hey, maybe I have a problem, maybe I don't. Are there any resources I can go to? That's actually, what? Before we end, we should probably talk about that. Yeah. Do you know offhand? Actually, we'll put an edit point here in case the answer is no.
Right.
Is there some place where hey, I think I have a problem with gaming? Who should I talk to?
This is a responsible thing for you to say. I like this.
It is.
Yeah. This is so.
Who can help us?
You can always go to a general practitioner, your normal doctor. If you say, I'm having this problem with my behavior, they will always be able to say, hopefully they'll always be able to say, here's a behavioral health place you can go and talk to those people. And that's a great place to start. If you don't have if you have a counselor or a psychologist you're already seeing, just talk to that person. That's real direct.
Okay.
But if you just don't know who to talk to at all, go to your, when you go for your GP, or just make an appointment, call them, make an appointment, say, I want to come down. If you have health insurance, it's $15-20. Talk to them and say, hey, who do you recommend for dealing with and it can be weird to talk about, but just say I'm having a behavioral, I want some sort of help with my, I'm feeling bad about something, and they'll know what you're talking about. You're talking about mental health, and so they'll send you in the right direction.
Right. And kind of a leading, I guess the sort of leading question too. If you're a college student, because some of you out there may be, or if you're in high school, there are tons of mental health services available for you, like right there on campus. Just about any decent-sized college campus right now will have counseling staff right there, ready for you as we speak. In your high school, you know what? Your guidance counselor, I know they're the butt of a lot of jokes, but they can point you to some good resources. Just say, hey, I am having this kind of problem, and, it's the same kind of thing. But there's definitely help out there. If you feel you do have a problem, you probably do.
And the sort of the good news is the world has changed. We're not in a world where we say, well, oh, you have a problem, you can never do that again. You are never allowed to touch any of that again. In sort of the modern way of thinking about it, we want you to move towards health. So it doesn't mean you're never going to play another video game. It just means maybe you can go and talk to someone and just kind of shift your relationship to gaming into a more healthy direction. And that's a good and positive thing.
We're just going to take away your Minecraft.
We're not going to take away your Minecraft.
Yes, we are.
Well, we're going to take away your Minecraft.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
But yeah, and that's, I think that's the thing, is that the idea is, this isn't just like, I think for us at our age, we grew up with there's still this bit of weird guilt about really being into this stuff because it wasn't a normal thing. And I think we have that baggage. I think the generation, again, my kids, they're not growing up with that kind of baggage. Playing a game is no more different or unusual than any other activity kids might be involved with. And so for us, it's just oh, this is creepy and bad that I'm playing games. But it's not, It only becomes creepy and bad when it becomes something that takes over your normal life and
Right.
becomes dysfunctional.
It's a natural escape, just like reading or movies or anything else.
Or heroin.
Don't do heroin.
No.
Heroin's natural.
That was a joke.
Yeah.
Joke.
I mean, unless you want to look,
Joke.
model skinny.
Don't do heroin.
Don't do heroin. Yep.
I'm going to get in a lot of trouble if it's me here. You guys tell people to do heroin.
Yeah,
Don't do heroin.
Don't do heroin.
There's only one of us who has a career to worry about here. So,
Yep.
But in that note, I want to thank you very much, Nate, for coming out and kind of putting your reputation and career on the line.
Yes.
Speaking to us,
Thank you
jackals.
for having me. And I support these guys on Patreon, FYI, because they're awesome. And this show is free entertainment for me, and I really enjoy it. So if you are also enjoying this, go check out their Patreon.
Patreon.com/withoutprogames.
And maybe think about supporting them, because creating is hard and takes a lot of time and takes a lot of money, and you get a lot of free entertainment out of it. So a couple bucks a month is, for me, totally worth it. I do it, and maybe, you should think about doing it.
And don't forget to check out Nate's podcast. He does indeed.
Yeah, and he actually is doing real work and research. And I really can't stress this enough. I mean, it's amazing how much actually, I joke about us not doing research. We do research. We talk about, we look at the history of the games and, find interesting factoids. But he's actually doing real research about things that are going to, change your life. Like that 20-minute nap thing, that's kind of changing the way I look at napping. And actually, it's something, I was just talking to Amanda about, and, we're definitely that's something we're going to implement and change.
In other words, go listen to the sleep.
Go listen to the sleep one, the 20-minute nap thing,
5.
change your life.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, Gaming Without Parole. I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Dezrah.
I'm Nate.
And we'll see you next week.